Hi, Caitríona.
Hello.
Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. So we sort of talk filmmaking and all that sort of fun stuff. So let's just talk about how you got involved in this and how you ended up attached to the amateur, because it's an amazing role and it's a really exciting film.
Yeah, so came through my agent and he, I've known Rami sort of socially, I guess, for a couple of years, when the show that he used to be on, Mr. Robot, and the show that I used to be on sort of started around the same time. So we always kind of were in these circles, and I've always been such a huge fan of his. And so when the script was sent to me, I obviously was very excited about that, and the fact that James Hawes was directing, because I'm a big Slow Horses fan.
Yes.
And then, you see the list of people Lawrence was attached that I knew of at the time. And there's some other names floating around. I was like, oh, this sounds fun. And then they were like, and it's Marseille and Istanbul. And I was like, you got me.
It's got so many things, isn't it? It's like great
Yeah.
cast, great director, international shooting.
Great locations.
Yeah.
But it was just such a fun script. I think, there's so many of these sort of thrillers that you read, and it is very much usually about the brawn and, it's like fighting and all of this. And this was just a very smart, kind of unique take on it, I thought. And this character, Inqualine, was somebody that, it's not like something I've played before either, which was kind of fun too. You're always looking to sort of do something different. And so, yeah, just sort of all of it sounded like a really fun time. So I was like, sign me up.
I mean, as soon as I sort of saw your character, I thought this has got so much for someone to like get stuck into.
Yeah.
She's got loss, she's got loneliness, she's got this incredible sort of set of stakes in the world that she lives in.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're doing action stuff as well. So, I mean, what's the sort of process for you once you've done that first read through of the script in terms of like preparing for the character? Are you like working accent first? How are you sort of getting into the mindset of her?
I think it's sort of it all, because we'd read and we were supposed to film in the summer of 24, I guess, summer of 23, I guess, right before the strikes.
Right, yeah.
And they had actually started filming, and then they had to sort of down tools. So my stuff came in the following January. So I actually had a long time to think about it after a while.
Beneficial for them.
Yes, unintentionally a long time to think about it. But I think it's various different things. The whole thing that you sort of mentioned first, like the fact that we meet her and it's somebody who's living in this loss and living in this place that seems so solitary. I thought that was a really interesting thing to start working on, and sort of like, how does somebody exist in that space? And then with the accent, I was sort of looking at different people. And one of the people I came across was Nadia Tolokonnikova, because I thought, okay, here's somebody who has a similar sort of search for justice. And I think that's sort of Inqualine's driving force, is this real need for justice. And even though she's not working within any kind of structured framework, like she doesn't belong to any intelligence agency or anything like that, but here's somebody as a lone wolf who is very much like, I can make a difference. And I thought that was a really interesting, it's just a really interesting character trait. I think especially for a woman, you don't usually get female characters kind of like that. So the accent, I sort of tried to base quite a lot on Nadia, and I listened to a lot of her podcasts, or she had an amazing TED talk and sort of that. And so, yeah, it was a little bit of all of it.
And what about sort of finding the physicality? Because she's obviously like a very fast-paced person. She used to she's used to rushing around and driving cars fast. I mean, is that sort of a mindset thing? Like, was there sort of an extra layer of like research into that espionage world beyond the script, or was there enough sort of in the subtext and the script and the conversations to kind of get you into that?
Yeah,
that
I mean,
role?
I spoke to James, and obviously, you can trust him so implicitly because I've seen his work, and like I've seen kind of set pieces that he's done like that before. And so that he knows exactly what he wants. I mean, I probably didn't realize how much running we were going to be doing and like how much uphill, but that stuff's fun. I think, I try and stay relatively fit. But it's always it's always really fun when you get to do that.
I was helping a friend with an audition the other day, and it was only like a sort of 10-meter stretch of running, but after you've done it like 20 or 30 times, they're like completely out of breath. And then you think, well, hang on, if you're doing this on such a big scale in a film, it's a real like physical workout.
Yeah, but first of all, why does anyone ask somebody to do that in an audition? It is impossible. It's like, it's quite funny. But it's stuff like that. It's a lot of pressure because also there's a lot of moving pieces. You have all of the other things going on around you. It has to be quite planned out with the camera work and everything. So, you have to get it right. But I don't know. I think your adrenaline just kicks in and you sort of end up thriving on that. And I don't know, that stuff's always quite fun. The driving, I think the first take we did, James came over and he was like, yeah, maybe don't look so scared. I was like, oh, okay, right, yeah.
Determined, yeah. So what was the sort of conversations with James on set, like actor, director? I mean, did you have many like conversations in advance? Was it just sort of discussing how you both saw the character? Or did you have time to sort of really like deep dive on set? 'Cause usually it's quite mechanical on this sort of size movie once you're actually shooting. Like, as you said, it's like stunts and marks to hit and those kind of things.
Yeah, no, well, we had an initial Zoom conversation where we sort of talked about his general feelings about Inqualine and what he was looking for. And I'd sort of had the script maybe a week or two at that point, and I brought him my initial thoughts as well. And then we had an email exchange back and forth because they were starting to shoot, and then everything went down. So everything went quiet
held
for a
in
while.
limbo, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once they were back up, I think the amazing thing with James is that he can shoot at such an incredible pace, and they had so much to do, and it was such a fast moving production as well, moving from, they were in London and then they were in Paris and then they were down in Marseille. So really it was like I got on set and, it was kind of amazing, but you're like, right, well, we've talked about what we've talked about now, just let's get into it and let's do it. And I like that, and he's very specific about what he needs, and he knows very specifically what he's going to show in the edit and things like that. So, he's great. He's very efficient, which is always good.
Are there any sort of moments, maybe like little bits of direction or notes or thoughts that sort of struck in your mind from the shoot? I know it's sort of going back into like extreme specifics.
No, I mean, we had the great thing about this. There was stuff that was very technical because obviously a lot of the sort of sitting at the computer and all of that. But then we had these, couple of really beautiful character moments and emotional moments. So the scene where Charlie and Inqualine have that great conversation, which I think is sort of where Inqualine sort of steers Charlie's morals or questions his morals slightly, where they're outside the guinea fowl pen. That was such a beautiful kind of emotional moment for both of these characters, where she's really questioning, like, is this thing that you're doing, is it bringing you any relief? Because I know you're looking for justice, but what it feels like is that you're going for revenge. And I think that that's such a nice turning point for him. So James was amazing in those moments, like just very gently sort of letting Rami and I find the sort of emotional tempo of it. And, and I think it's a great director is always just guiding you slightly, and it's not kind of like, do this, do that, but it's sort of, oh, that moment was lovely. Like, can we sort of bring that out a little bit more? And then sort of the funny stuff was just with the technical where Rami and I were at the computer and he was like, yeah, maybe look like you look down at the keyboard a few times. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Keyboards, yeah.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got to wrap up. Just last like parting thing. Do you have any tips for maybe going back in time to your younger self, trying to make a break in the industry, maybe as an actor?
Oh God.
Like 30-second.
I think enjoy the process more. Sometimes it feels really scary when you're in the downtime and work seems scarce, and especially when you've bills to pay. But I think for any young actor, use that time to read as much as you can, watch as much as you can, and experience as much life as you can.
Thank you very much. That's perfect.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.